Hi everyone out there. I'm doing awareness about the brain for the nursing medical student over here. Here is the brain sagittal section with me. I want to show you the structure we can see on the sagittal section. The purpose of this video is one of my participation as one of the person that is taking, the candidate that is taking medical neuroscience from Duke University on Coursera. I recommend the course for you. The course is a very fascinating course, very enthusiastic course to do. Alright, here's the sagittal section of the brain. I'm going to show you the structure of sagittal section and tell them the functions of the anatomical structure we have over here and what I feel about the brain. So let's see small structure we can have over here in the sagittal section. Hi everyone, when we see this kind of structure of the brain, this is the sagittal section of the brain. When we say sagittal section, we all know that it gives us right and left, right? Alright, so giving you right and left, then you have the sagittal section. What are the structure you can appreciate in the brain? First thing you can appreciate is the corpus what? Corpus callosum. You see the corpus what? Corpus callosum. So what do we have about the corpus callosum? Corpus callosum has four parts, in case you don't know. Here is the splenium, here is the body, here is the genome, here is the rostrum. Now, saying that, we also have the second ventricle line over here. We call it second lateral ventricle. Here is the septum pellucidum. This band of fibers you are seeing, we call it septum what? Septum pellucidum. Alright, septum pellucidum is beneath the corpus callosum. What corpus callosum does is that it connects the right and left cerebral hemisphere together. The septum pellucidum now, it separates the fibers that connects the anterior horn of the lateral ventricle. Here, this structure that we are seeing over here, we call it phonix. We call it what? Phonix. We call it structure phonix. Alright. Over here now, we say we have second lateral ventricle. Don't forget that. Here is the diencephalon family. What do I call it? What? Diencephalon family. So now, in diencephalon family now, we have the thalamus, we have the hypothalamus over here. Then, as the case may be, we have epithalamus over here and the pineal gland of the endocrine gland, as the case may be. Here, there is a particular cavity over here of the brain. We call it the third ventricle. The third what? Third ventricle. Now, the third ventricle and the second ventricle, they communicate over here. We call this place interventricular foramen of Monro. Interventricular foramen of what? Monro. Alright, that's where they communicate together. Then, beneath the hypothalamus over here, we have what we call the pituitary what? Pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is a master endocrine gland, but it's regulated by the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus can be regarded as the endocrine system driver because it's the one that controls the pituitary gland. Alright, next, let's see the function of thalamus. Thalamus function is to relay sensory and motor information to the brain for interpretation. Going after there now, this structure of the brain we are seeing right that you can appreciate what they call the brainstem. The what? The brainstem. Now, brainstem consists of three parts of structure of the brain. It consists of the midbrain, consists of the pons, it consists of medulla what? Medulla oblongata. Now, function of the midbrain is involved in autonomic function. Autonomic function, such as heart breathing, heart rate, swallowing, breathing, pulse, and temperature. That is what brainstem does. Now, imagine for the brainstem and some cranial nerve. Some what? Cranial nerve. I guess I've taught you guys about the cranial nerve before, but let me just show you some cranial nerve over here. Here, over the pons now, we have the cranial nerve 5. You can see it over here. Cranial nerve what? 5. What's cranial nerve 5? Anybody? Trigeminal nerve, right? That's trigeminal nerve. Alright, here is cranial nerve 6. The cranial nerve 6 and 7 and 8 images are the pontomedullary junction. This one is the cranial nerve 6. This is the abducens nerve. Here is the cranial nerve 7, facial nerve. Cranial nerve 8 is over here. What's cranial nerve 8? Vestibulocochlear, right? This is cranial nerve. Here is cranial nerve 9. We have the glossal what? Glossopharyngeal. After the glossopharyngeal, we have the what? The vagus nerve. That is 10. Now 11 is over here. We call it accessory what? Spinal nerve. Alright, this one that we see over here, we call it the what? That is hypoglossal nerve. What's hypoglossal nerve? Cranial nerve what? 12. That's the last cranial nerve. The largest cranial nerve in the human body is the what? The trigeminal nerve. Alright, let's say, talking about that, we also have the cerebellum showing very prominent over here. The what? Cerebellum. Now we all know cerebellum is responsible for coordination of movements. Coordination of movement, posture, balance, motor learning, such as handwriting, as the case may be. Here we also have the fourth ventricle showing over. The fourth what? Fourth ventricle. Now the fourth ventricle can communicate with the third ventricle over here through the what we call the cerebral equinote of sleeve at the point of midbrain. Alright, these are the structure we can appreciate for the brain in sagittal section. You appreciate your corpus callosum, your septum pellucidum, your phonix, the diencephalon family, the thalamus and the hypothalamus. You see the pituitary gland over here. You see the brainstem. You see the cranial nerve of the brainstem over here showing prominence. Then we also see over here now we could see the cerebellum. Then over here we also have the cingulate gyrus part of the limbic system. Alright, those are the structure we can appreciate at the sagittal section of the brain. Looking at the ventral section of the brain, can also appreciate the olfactory bulb, the olfactory tracts, and the optic chiasma. Alright, thank you. That is all we have. Thank you for watching. Do brain awareness for everywhere you are. Let every medical student know about the brain so that they will be highly kind of voracious for knowledge and go for research. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you.